Chelsea finished the last home game of 2023 with a 2-1 win against Palace. We leave it late. It was by no means comfortable, but thank God we got the 3 points. Right, people, what's happening, and welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, at the end of the video, please do me a massive favour. If you enjoy the content and you want to see more from myself, hit the subscribe button, click the bell so that you get a notification every time one of my videos goes live. And right now, this second now, hit the like button so that you can celebrate Chelsea finally getting a win with me. Right, so here's the starting lineup we opted for. We knew that we were massively hampered by injuries and suspensions. I suggested that maybe Thiago Silva should have come out of the lineup, and he did. We went Gusto right back, Disasi, Badiashile, Colwell, Gallagher and Caicedo paired with each other, and Nkunku getting his first start just behind Nicholas Jackson. We have Mudryk on one wing and Maatsen on the other. Now, the surprise inclusion in there was definitely Ian Maatsen, because I think a lot of people looked at the guy who ended up winning the match for us in Noni Madueke and thought surely we would see Madueke in this match. Now, actually, Josh said on the podcast, didn't he, that Madueke and Pochettino had a bit of a falling out during their time at Spurs, and that actually caught a bit of fire. I saw people making videos online about that, so yeah, potentially that did happen, but nevertheless, we did see Noni Madueke in the second half, and we will get on to that. But looking at that starting lineup, I was quite optimistic about it, to be honest. It was as strong as we could have possibly have gone, and although I've said time in, time out that I don't think Nicholas Jackson is the man to lead our line, we can't ignore the fact that we did see Nicholas Jackson link up pretty well with Nkunku in pre-season, and this was the first real opportunity that we were going to get to see those two as a pairing and see what they could do together. They were the two highest forward players together, and at times they linked up well. There was a time actually when Nicholas Jackson put the ball through. It was a back heel, I think, that went through to Nkunku, and they looked all right together. Now, Ian Maatsen being in that lineup, although it raised a few eyebrows at first, I actually thought it was a clever decision, because if we look back at pre-season, Ian Maatsen was one of our standout performers, and we speak about this Nkunku and Jackson link up, but Ian Maatsen and Nkunku had a very good link up in pre-season. I actually thought Ian Maatsen looked all right. Let's get into the game itself. So the scoring opened on the 14-minute mark. Malo Gusto taking the ball on the turn and driving forward. He then puts a little bit of a misplaced pass through to Nkunku. However, the ball does eventually end up reaching Nkunku. And Malo Gusto does something that not a lot of Chelsea players are doing nowadays, which is being proactive rather than reactive. He runs all the way from the right back slot to the left wing, more or less, gives Nkunku the option, which Nkunku slips it through to, and then Malo Gusto cuts it back across goal, and Mykhailo Mudryk scores. Mykhailo Mudryk's third, I think, Premier League goal of the season. Obviously, he scored the other night against Newcastle, so surely, especially with the injuries we've got, we see a bit more of Mykhailo Mudryk going forward. Now, after this, for quite a long period, we seemed pretty much in control. The first half was going well for Chelsea. Palace still looked dangerous. Like, every time they countered us, they were on the attack. Obviously, having Eze, Elise, Ayew, and their front man, his name slips my mind, but he was pretty good as well. Very physical. They always looked dangerous. However, there was a point, as I said, when Nicholas Jackson put through a little bit of a backheel pass to Nkunku. Nkunku goes through on goal, and he goes down. It looked like he mishit the shot at first, and then you realise there was contact made by the defender. They took it back, they VAR'd it. A lot of people in the ground thought it should have been a penalty, and I'll actually say I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought that there was contact made, I thought it was completely accidental, and yeah, I didn't actually think it was a penalty there, so I could sort of understand where the referee was coming from. But after being ready to go in at half-time, fairly happy, Chelsea did what Chelsea always seem to do, and that is lapse in concentration. Caicedo thinks that he's got Elise. He doesn't. He lets Elise go. Badiashile's obviously looking, thinking Caicedo's got him. Neither have. Elise takes a ball that was looped in over the top, down on the chest, and volleys it home. 1-1 at half-time. Massively disappointing for the Chelsea players. And we came out in the second half, and to be honest, we didn't look great. Palace had the better of the first half of the second half, and it was only towards the end that Chelsea really started to switch on. Conor Gallagher puts through around 75 minutes in, puts through a lovely weighted ball to Nicholas Jackson. He's got to tap in more or less, and Nicholas Jackson misses it. It is the sort of goal that a number 9 really needs to be scoring for Chelsea, especially in a team where the chances aren't coming our way all that often. It's not like we're just reeling them off and making chance after chance after chance. So we need someone there who's able to convert that sort of chance. And then around a minute or so later, a ball gets looped in over the top. Nicholas Jackson this time has a much harder chance, and he puts it home. We're celebrating. It's 2-1. We think we're on to a good win. And then our old friend VAR pulls it back and rules the goal out. Now, I didn't think this goal was offside, to be honest. Look, you've got the picture on screen now. I don't know what they're going on. Apparently, Nicholas Jackson was offside. I didn't think it was. I was gutted for him because, as I say, Nicholas Jackson, in the way that he always does, he's a bit of an enigma, Nicholas Jackson. The chance he should have scored, he doesn't manage to convert. The chance that's a lot harder, he manages to convert. But all the meanwhile, it doesn't mean anything because VAR rule it out. And at that point, I'm looking at things and I'm thinking, do you know what? This is just going to be another one of those games. We're either going to draw it, we're going to go on to lose it, but we're not going to win it, and it's just not good enough. And then certain substitutes are made. I think Madueke may have already been on the pitch, but Madueke comes on. Chelsea have a corner. It comes out to Madueke. He takes the ball past Eze, but Eze doesn't let him through. He fouls Madueke, and the play actually goes on. And ironically, Palace end up breaking up the other end of the pitch. We're all calling for the VAR check. Eventually, Michael Salisbury has the VAR. They tell him to go over to the monitor, and like we see time in, time out, when you go over to the monitor, it usually gets given. It did get given, and thankfully, Chelsea had the penalty. And actually, I was thinking, who takes this, because our usual man, Cole Palmer, isn't on the field. Raheem Sterling would usually step up to take one. Enzo hasn't. He hasn't been on the field. But Madueke steps up to take the penalty, as he did in the cup against AFC Wimbledon. He sends a keeper the wrong way. He converts it, and thank God, Chelsea, by hook or by crook, managed to finish at least 2023 at Stamford Bridge with a home win. And it feels good, doesn't it? Realistically, at least now we can go into Saturday's game against Luton with some form of optimism. I get that Luton are a decent side. They're resolute. They do what they do well, and they know what they need to do against Chelsea, as most teams in the league do. But surely we need to be beating Luton. If we can beat Luton, it can hopefully, lick our wounds and put away some of the scars left over from Molineux behind us, and we can go into 2024 knowing, please don't crop this up and it come back to bite me in the arse, but 2024 can only surely be better than 2023 was. Now, I look at this game in general, and I think there are things that I should touch on. I want to be positive, man. I really want to be positive on this, but Chelsea's defending is awful. And do you know what? When we're speaking about going and getting a defender, at first, that was a head-scratcher for me. As the weeks go on, I think we do need a defender because our defending was awful. Badiashile wasn't great today, gave away the ball a couple of times. Eventually, what we ended up doing is moving Malo Gusto over to left back, and Thiago Silva come on. Disasi went right back. Disasi weren't bad, Thiago Silva, another individual mistake. The reason I dropped him from the lineup isn't because I think he's, not good enough for Chelsea at all, because he still is, he's pretty still our best defender. But 3 matches in a week, I just didn't want to see him in there again today. Pochettino thought the same. He did come on, made one bit of a mistake, but also was pretty good, Thiago Silva. But the man in that defence was Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto was brilliant today. Best game I've seen from him in a Chelsea shirt. Helped create our first goal. Was a constant threat on the attack. Very rarely got done defensively, and I think when we're looking at the fact that Reece James is now going to be out for, well, I was about to say a prolonged injury, but actually we're hearing he could be, back sooner than we think. I think Reece James needs to take his time with this injury, and as long as we can keep Malo Gusto, who has also had his injury problems to a much lesser extent, if we can keep him on the pitch, then that's a plus for us. And we did see a few players that we were really looking forward to seeing today in Christopher Nkunku. His showing was good. I only think he's going to get better. He had that chance. Obviously, he felt that it was a penalty. He went down, didn't convert it. He also had a couple more half chances. Link up with Jackson was all right. I still think we need a number 9 in the transfer window. But one man who did make his debut was Romeo Lavia. And I actually thought the midfield three of Romeo Lavia paired with Gallagher and Caicedo looked quite good. It could be one that we end up seeing. Romeo Lavia looked lively. We know what Romeo Lavia offers. Defensively, he's very good, but also his long ball attempts are quite good. Through ball attempts were really high at Southampton last season, so hopefully we can see a bit more of that, because although I thought Enzo Fernandez would do it, so far we haven't really got that one midfield player that can really split the lines of a pass. So if it's Romeo Lavia, brilliant. All the better for that. What I would say is, in the midfield, our midfielders rarely find space on the ball, find time on the ball. It feels like every time the ball goes to Conor Gallagher or Caicedo, they've got their back to goal and a man on them. Now, Conor Gallagher usually manages to wriggle out of the space. Caicedo can find it a little bit more tricky. Hopefully, this midfield finds a little bit more of a balance with Romeo Lavia. I do not want to see Conor Gallagher sold. Not at all. So Conor Gallagher is a mainstay in that midfield for me. If Romeo Lavia is to force his way in the team, I want to know from you guys, who is it at the expense of? Is it Enzo Fernandez, or is it Caicedo? Caicedo looks good, man. He does look good, but he does have an error in him. So do all of this Chelsea side, man. I really think that there's so many errors in this Chelsea side that we are going to see massive inconsistency for the rest of the season. It isn't a performance that fills me with optimism. We're getting the win. We should be getting a win against Crystal Palace, you know. Crystal Palace are down there in the table and they're without a away win, I think 9 matches or something like that. But at the same time, Crystal Palace aren't that bad, and they have, you know, been hampered a little bit by injuries at time and not had their best 11 out. Today was closer to their best 11, and today showed me that there's probably no chance they're going to be sucked into a relegation battle, or Chelsea are just really bad, and it's probably, you know, truth's probably somewhere in the middle of the two of those statements. But I don't think Crystal Palace are that bad. What I do think is we should be beating Crystal Palace. We should have been 2-0 up at half-time, and are we going to see a game this season that ends, you know, 4-0 Chelsea or something like that? Because we look a million miles off from that right now, but I do have to be optimistic about the game. It's good that we got the 3 points. I'm very hopeful we can make it back-to-back wins against Luton. If we do make it back-to-back wins against Luton, then potentially we might be able to see ourselves go into the latter part of the season with still a chance there, still some hope of qualifying for some form of European football. Because for this young budding squad and for Pochettino as a manager, if we can get even Conference League, I'd actually bite your hand off if you offer that to me right now, because I do think that experience of going and playing these sides, and let's remember, so far this year we've been better in the cup, you know, so maybe potentially in cups we can be a little bit better. Luton on Saturday, that is what I am looking forward to now. I will be dropping my match preview for that game, so make sure you are here to see that match preview. Once again, please do me a massive favour, smash the like button on this video. Guys, let me know your man of the match, by the way. Mine would be Malo Gusto. It's got to be Malo Gusto for me. Conor Gallagher had a good match, but I would go Malo Gusto. Let me know your thoughts on the game. What did this game teach you? For me, it taught me that we need a number 9 still, you know, because Jackson's just not that guy for me. People will tell me in the comment section, well, he scored a goal and he didn't know it's going to be ruled out for offside, and I do get it. But sometimes when you get that many chances, you will put one in the back of the net, and I'd actually rather he scored the goals that I was banking on him to score rather than the one he did. But I don't want to be too harsh on Jackson. It looks like Bro is going to go out, so Jackson will be there or thereabouts around that first team. But if we can go and get a clinical number 9, man, it's going to be really, really handy for us. And a centre-back. What do you think of Poch's performance as manager? Booked once again. And when I say about this disciplinary sort of issue we're having, Pochettino needs to lead by example and stop getting booked on the sidelines as well. Very animated on the sidelines. Maybe Pochettino is feeling a bit of that pressure. We heard his pre-match interview. I think it was an interview press conference where he said that he thought that Chelsea could be top of the league by this point. Crazy. But then again, I thought we'd be right up there. I can't lie. So, yeah. But all in all, a good night's work at Stamford Bridge. Very, very thankful to be able to breathe, at least until Saturday. I will drop my preview for the Luton game over the coming days, so make sure you're there to see it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and I will see you all in the next one.